Hey Raghunath, tell everyone about our Patreon community.
Sure, Kostuba. The Wisdom of the Sages Patreon community is an incredible online yoga resource. If you like the type of yoga wisdom and culture we share on the show, then our Patreon community is a great next step. This is a listener-supported podcast, and any level of sponsorship will unlock a wide range of live and archived classes, talks, and even workshops.
Raghunath teaches, I teach, and we have a host of other excellent teachers on topics ranging from yoga philosophy, asana classes, storytelling, Ayurveda, kirtan, cooking, meditation, and a lot more.
We even have an incredible online Bhakti 12-step recovery group.
So if you want to check it out, go to patreon.com/Wisdom of the Sages.
All right, let's get it on.
Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Come on!
Live from Super Soul Farm. This is Wisdom of the Sages, a daily yoga podcast with your host, Raghunath, and co-host and senior educator at the Bhakti Center, New York, Kostuba Das. Welcome to the show, everybody. Welcome to Fridays. Tell a friend Friday. Tell people about Wisdom of the Sages. Let people know. Exciting stuff that Kostuba shared yesterday. How about the podcast is growing in a big way, and it's growing organically. There's no big budget on how to spread this. People just tell friends about it, so you can be part of that. And make sure if you're listening, a lot of people, you guys listen to YouTube, you listen, you share, you comment, you hit the icon for the bell.
Yeah.
Good morning.
Good morning.
What else can they do? What else can they do?
I don't know what you said.
Leave a review.
Right? I
on
guess
Apple
leave
Podcasts.
nice comments on. Share the stuff on your social media, I suppose.
It's like our whole world is controlled. You know what algorithms are like? They're like the three gunas. We are controlled by algorithms. Like, for example, in January, we have these massive spikes, and we have no idea why. Like, how many people were listening per day, Kostuba?
Well, there was one day where it's not a question of how many exactly were listening. It's a question of how many downloaded the audio. So it doesn't
whatever. I mean,
okay. So there was I think the biggest day was over 27,000 downloads. Yesterday was like almost 11,000.
So 27,000. It's sort of like,
well, you don't know where it came from.
we speculate that it's just some random algorithm. You open your phone and there's Wisdom of the Sages on it. Remember right after we did that Joe Rogan podcast, it's like you open your phone and you open to Apple Podcasts and Wisdom of the Sages would come up. I was like, I wonder if this is just my phone. Then I checked like my mom's phone. No, it's coming up on everybody's phone. So sometimes for some reason, there might be an algorithm to shoot yours to the top. So the best our technological brains have figured out. It's when people comment, it's when people like, it's when people follow, it's people download. It just sort of, it sort of snowballs. Yeah. So always engage with us.
Okay.
And that way that's just one way to help spread the good word. It used to be like you distribute books because in the old days there was no printing presses, and then they made the printing press. It's like, this is incredible. We can take this Vedic knowledge and we could just give Bhagavad Gitas to people. How amazing this is. And they called that the Brihat Mridanga. Like you have one Mridanga, that's the drum and kirtan, and you play for a room of 10 people. But then when they had the printing press, they called it the Brihat Mridanga. It's like the big Mridanga. Mm-hmm. And internet is like the Brihat Mridanga. It's like you can make a clip that goes viral and tens of thousands, if not millions of people can hear this clip about you're not. I remember the first time I heard I'm not the mind, I was like, thank God that you just made my day. I'm not my mind. Oh my, some people really need this stuff.
That's true.
Especially first thing in the morning. Kostuba's going on a little vacation this weekend.
A collusion, perhaps.
He's going to see his parents for their 60th anniversary.
Characterize it as you like. I'm just going to and trying to be dutiful the entire weekend. That's my meditation.
You don't go home that often, so I'm rarely interested to how it's going to go. Like, are you going to integrate? Are you going to be like, I don't eat your food?
I'm not gonna.
Like, what's Kostuba going to do?
I don't know.
Maybe he'll cook for his parents.
Will you cook for your parents, perhaps?
A
It's
little
good
bit.
for you to go. Is
A
your
little
wife
bit.
going?
Yeah.
Okay, she can soften your edges.
Yeah, she does.
Yeah. I wish I was a fly on the wall for that 60th anniversary.
And I'm
Pretty
glad you're not.
amazing. It's pretty amazing people can be married for 60 years.
Yeah,
Very,
60
very
years.
impressive.
I want to know if your parents have any. I want to know if your parents have any advice after being married.
Oh, like marriage advice?
Yes. Why don't you
Okay,
get
I will
3
ask them.
pieces of marriage advice? That can be our nugget for Monday.
I'll work on that. But I won't be on the show Monday, probably, because I'll be traveling that morning.
Okay. All squirrels all day. Monday. Cheers.
Actually, why don't we go ahead and figure out what's going on this weekend? Have you figured it out?
Oh, I'm working on something big for
Okay.
tomorrow.
So you're going to have a mysterious interview tomorrow? That's the idea?
Mysterious something tomorrow.
Okay.
We're just going to call it the mystery show. You just
Okay.
sign on and you're going to get some magic.
Mayor, try to keep it under control while I'm gone.
I'll do the best I can, Prabhu.
And then Sunday is an exciting day, right?
Oh, ho, 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 ho.
Sunday is kind of like it's kind of like it's like a 2-part thing, actually, right? We want to, on the show, we want to discuss the sage groups, and we want to bring on sage group leaders and sage group members and share their experiences and so on. I think we'll learn a lot from that. We'll get a good idea about the value of that kind of sangha. And then we're going straight from that show straight into like a meeting where we're gathering with all those sage group. If you were in a sage group, please try to attend. You should have received a letter by now. But after the show, we'll just go like kind of right into this kind of like big gathering where we'll share different stuff, and then we'll break into different groups. We'll gather information from you, like what was it about it that worked for you, what things could be improved, and other kind of questions are going to be dealt with. And I think it'll be like a fun thing, but also like like an important thing.
Exciting.
So that's Sunday, right?
That's Sunday. Get ready. Okay. 8 a.m. It's 8 a.m. this weekend, guys, too. Also.
We may be calling on some of you Sage Group members to speak too. So keep that in mind.
Maybe for tomorrow's mystery show, we may be calling on some of the Krishna core. I didn't know Jamuna Jelly was hardcore.
I didn't know that either.
She's full on hardcore.
Where? From where?
Chicago hardcore scene. She was quoting me
Check
Fugazi
out.
lyrics.
Okay.
She's like, I grew up through all that stuff. Yep. No, everybody's like,
That strikes me
secretly
as a little
hardcore.
post-hardcore.
Well, whatever. Not really.
I guess hardcore's still going on, so.
Yeah. All right. You know who was not hardcore? Page Family Bhakti. They were definitely not hardcore.
That's okay. Not everybody needs to go through that stage.
I know my kids. I don't tell my kids anything about hardcore.
Page Family Bhakti tried.
They tried hardcore. Good for you.
Didn't work.
You should try. It didn't work. Sometimes it just doesn't work.
It's okay. Well, that means she like listened to some Shelter records and she's like, it's not for me.
Not my cup of tea. You got to give it a chance.
It's got to
Page
grow
Family
on you.
Bhakti. You got to
She's
grow.
playing her
inside of you.
violin and she's like, no.
No, she's a talented musician. All right. You know Ramad Devi's hardcore. You know that, right?
That's what I heard.
Surprising. All right. So we got a nugget today.
Yeah.
From a little well-known Frenchman named Antoine de Saint-Exupery.
Say that again, Raghunath.
Antoine de Saint-Exupery.
Antoine de Saint-Exupery.
Yes.
I don't know.
But
I don't know if I'm doing it right.
Okay, Kostuba picked this nugget, but you know what? I think I could have said this nugget. I mean, it's like one of these things. Like on my deathbed, I could be like, "This is my nugget. Take
Well,
this
who
with
was he,
you."
Raghunath? Who was Antoine? Antoine.
I don't know. Do you know?
I do. He was the author of The Little Prince.
Oh, all right.
Have you read that?
Now I know who he is. I love The Little Prince.
Are there nuggets in The Little Prince? I really
Yeah.
don't
Here's
know
a
anything
nugget.
about it.
You don't know The Little Prince?
I mean, I don't know the story or anything.
It's his own little planet.
All right.
Okay.
Here's a nugget.
Here's the nugget. I know but one freedom, and that is the freedom of the mind. I would say that. That's something I'd say. I think that's something I say. Raghunath and Antoine de Saint-Exupery. This is our way, a Vedic way of looking at freedom.
Okay.
Freedom is not where you are, who's in charge of you, who's running your country, who's what political party's in charge, if there is a political party, if there's anarchy, if there's like a despot, a king. Freedom is a connection between yourself and your senses, right? There's a lot of people who, in one sense, they have no freedom, or they have lots of freedom to do whatever they want. But what do they do with their freedom? They can become a drug addict, an alcoholic, a wino, addicted to video games, addicted to sex, addicted to consumption, where you actually feel like your intelligence and your mind has controlled you, like you have lost all freedom due to sense indulgence. And I think it's safe to say we've all been there to some degree, if not like some hard illegal drug or opioids or something. It's safe to say we've been like that with Doritos, or we've been like, or with television, or binge watching a television show. It's like you just can't stop, even when it doesn't even taste good anymore. And that type of helplessness is a type of bondage that we want to become free of. And then, of course, there is the blame game that continues with the mind, where I can blame the world for everything that happens to me, has happened to me. And we live in a being of resentment. My whole being becomes resentful of existence, of what everybody did to me. And I think there is this radical responsibility that goes with the spiritual person who says, you know what, I'm not going to accept this as my reality. I believe in a benevolent higher power, that things are happening for my growth, that everything is a divine plan, that I have some power over my senses. There can be peace no matter what storm is out there. And the storms are only making me, the storms at sea are making me a better sailor. And I find that this paradigm of looking at life is just, whatever your religious beliefs, this is just a better way to live your life. It's a better way to face the day. It's a better way to just deal with, with the sunny seasons and the winter seasons. What'd you say about that?
Yeah, well, yeah, I'm with you. I think that we tend not to think too deeply about life. The most people we're born and we start to grow up and we start to get fed information, and we kind of plug into a mode where we just try to move towards what feels good and move away from what doesn't feel good. And we don't examine things. Like, for instance, am I free? Well, most people will probably say, yeah, I'm free. I can make my own choices and do what I want to do. Well, right. Can you choose not to grow old?
Okay.
No, right? Like, no. I'm locked in. Like, my body, I don't have freedom of the body, right? I can't look exactly as I want to look. I can't move exactly as I want to move, and I can't prevent the aging of my body. It's just kind of like that very idea. Although I get it that, like, to many people that'll sound like, well, that's what are you talking about? That's stupid. People grow old. It's just life, But it's like some people are going to stop and think deeply about it and say the fact that I can't. It seems that I cannot do anything. Like, this body is destined to grow old, and there's nothing I can do to stop it. Am I meant to be experiencing that, or is there a freedom beyond that can be achieved? That's a worthy question to ask. In my mind, and that's what the sages of ancient India did. They questioned this, right? Like, well, is there a freedom beyond this? And then you look and you say, well, let's go into the mind, right? Like, even there, like you're saying, like, I think one can be apparently free and a total slave to the mind, or one could be apparently bound and entirely free in the mind. you know, and it's real. If we examine our bodily or external situation, we'll realize that my freedom is limited, that which means ultimately I'm not free, right?
Sometimes when there is a lot of freedom in your culture too, it makes people a little lazy. Sometimes we work better under duress or when things are tougher. Like I feel like our generation, you and me, we're
Mhm.
lame compared to like your father's generation or your grandfather's generation. I mean, just sit around here and Grandma Terry tell her stories about struggle. I mean, that generation was like I think there was a name for that, the golden generation or something. Like they climbed mountains.
The great
So
generation,
the
I
great
think they
generation,
call it.
they climb mountains so you and me can just go to India. You know what I mean? So we can, like, my parents didn't think, are we going to go to India this year? They were like, can we survive? You know, can we survive? Do we have to pull the oldest sister out of school to go to work? It was like that kind of stuff. And there's something about that type of like, I'm going to sacrifice for a higher purpose. Um, that is quite impressive. And then, and that's a lot of, sometimes greatness comes from when the material situation isn't so cozy.
Yeah, and you're saying so. Therefore, it's sometimes the external, you
Right.
could say, bondage or challenges, kind of like bring out what's underneath that we don't bring out when we're apparently more free.
Exactly.
Yeah,
Exactly.
and I think but this is important. Like I say, even that question, like, am I free? My body's growing old. Can I do something about it? Or am I a slave to my mind, as you were talking about, right? Am I just following the dictation of the mind, or can I become free within the mind? This is where great thinkers go. And what yoga is like a collection of different practices that are created to free oneself within the mind, right? To become free within the mind. That, hey, there are different ways you could do this, like rather than just like a slave, move towards what feels good and move away towards what feels bad. You could actually begin to perform exercises, to do practices, to begin to direct your mind rather than be directed by it. And if you can direct your mind, right, if you have that internal freedom, really whatever's going on externally can't bind you, right?
Mm.
You'll transcend it. You have transcended it if you become free in the mind. And you can, and what to speak of when, of course, what these ancient texts say is then you can actually kind of break free from this cycle of taking on new bodies and really achieve that external freedom as well as internal.
Let's do an experiment today.
Yeah.
Let's not blame anything or anyone or any situation for our unhappiness today.
I like that.
You like
I
that?
like that, and that's not only like an indication of one's freedom, but also what it does is like that's a practice which enables you to actually begin to control your mind. In other words, that's the kind of practice that gives one greater peace of mind. It reduces the distractions in life, so that I can do an experiment and take my mind to something that I want to take it to, that I feel is going to be edifying or healthy or transformative, like a mantra, or like a deep thought, something shared in one of these sacred texts, to be able to contemplate it deeply. We're going to read today. We started a new chapter today, and we're going to go back to the Pracetas, who, these were these brothers that they knew that they had big responsibilities coming in life, and they wanted to be ready for the challenge with pure minds and pure hearts. And they didn't want that those external responsibilities would corrupt them in some way.
Mm.
And so they said, let's intentionally direct our minds in a particular way, so that we'll be better prepared to handle this, so that we'll remain free even though we're moving through this prison of this world. And on their way to perform the practices, they met Lord Shiva. We read about this a few chapters ago. And Lord Shiva gave them something to meditate on, which was these prayers or these mantras glorifying the form of Lord Vishnu. And now they went and did that for a long time, right? They consciously said, let me work on my mind, right? Let me bring my mind to places that I want it to go rather than be a slave to my mind.
Mm.
And they're going to come out of that, and we're going to see where they're at.
You know what? While you were pontificating, I was searching. I
I don't
was
know
doing
if
a
that
little
would
research.
qualify as pontificating, but
I was doing a little research,
Yeah.
and there's a lot of great quotes in The Little Prince. Maybe we should have Little Prince Week
we
next
could do
week.
that. People on the
Oh,
chat board are bringing stuff up.
what did you say? Trying to be funny, Mara?
No,
That's my
no.
job.
It's funny. I was saying maybe save some of the quotes if we're gonna do.
Oh, okay. Because I was going to read one right now. She said maybe save them. Okay.
Well, go ahead, share one.
Here's one. All grown-ups were once children, but only a few of them remember it.
All right.
Come on. Pretty good. Little Prince. Okay. Narayanam namaskritya naram chaiva narottamam devim saraswatim vyasam tato jayam mudiraya. Before reciting the Srimad Bhagavatam, which is our very means of conquest, one should offer respectful obeisances to the Supreme Lord Narayan. Unto Narayan Rishi, the supermost human being, unto Mother Saraswati, the goddess of learning, and to Srila Vyasadeva, the author. Nasta prayeshva badreshu nityam bhagavat sevaya bhagavati utamashloke bhaktir bhavati naishtiki. By regular attendance in classes in the Bhagavatam and by rendering service to the pure devotee, all that is troublesome to the heart will become eradicated, and loving service to the Supreme Lord, who is praised with transcendental songs, will be established as an irrevocable fact. Om Jnana Tamarandasya Jnananjana Shalakaya Chaksurun Midatam Nena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha. I was born in the darkness of ignorance, and my teachers are opening my eyes with the torchlight of knowledge. I offer my obeisances at their lotus feet. Here we go. She's reading from the Srimad Bhagavatam, Canto 4, Chapter 30, Text 1. The activities of the Pracetas. Vidura inquired from Maitreya, O Brahmana, you formerly spoke about the sons of Prachini Barhi and informed me that they satisfied the Supreme Personality of Godhead by chanting a song composed by Lord Shiva. What did they achieve in this way?
Yeah, right there. He's saying, okay, these yogis went off and they did this mind experiment, right? They went off to perform some kind of meditation. They did it for a long time. What came from that? You know, what was the value in that? Where did that get them?
Right. Sometimes we do that experiment. We get a mantra and we chant a mantra. In India, there's so many different mantras you can chant. We recommend chanting the Maha Mantra. Maha Mantra is a spiritual mantra, but there's also types of material mantras. There's mantras you can chant if you're going to learn astrology.
Here we go.
You chant the mantras of the planets. Some gurus will not let you learn astrology unless you chant the mantras of the planets. Anyway, so what did you get out of that experiment? That's how I look at my spiritual life. I look at it all as an experiment. I'm going to try it. Why not? Let's just try something. See what happens. See what the results are. My dear Barhaspatya. What? My dear Barhaspatya.
That means a disciple of Brihaspati.
Okay, because who's speaking? Who's Barhaspatya?
That's Maitreya.
Maitreya, okay. Yeah. What did the sons of King Barhisat, known as the Pracetas, obtain after meeting Lord Shiva, who is very dear to the personality of Godhead, the bestower of liberation? Certainly, they were transferred to the spiritual world. But apart from that, what did they obtain within this material world? Either in this life or in other lives, right? This is an interesting question. Are we doing this so we'll get, we don't go to hell? Or are we doing our spiritual practice so we go to heaven? What do you get in this life from having a spiritual life?
What came from it?
The great sage Maitreya said, O sons, the sons of King Prachini Barhi, known as the Pracetas, underwent severe austerities within the sea water.
Okay.
to carry out the order of their father. By chanting and repeating the mantras given to them by Lord Shiva, they were able to satisfy Lord Vishnu, the supreme personality of Godhead. At the end of 10,000 years of severe austerities performed by the Pracetas, the supreme personality of Godhead, to reward their austerities, appeared before them in his very pleasing form. This appealed to the Pracetas and satisfied the labor of their austerities.
Okay. So first thing they got was they got the darshan of Lord Vishnu. Right? They were able to actually see the form of the Lord.
Exciting.
Yeah. And this is something that's like, we see this all throughout Bhagavatam again and again and again. We're going to hear it again now, a description of that form. Why? Because the Bhagavatam is pointing us to do this again and again and again, right? Bring your mind to this form. We're going to describe it again and again and again because it's something worth bringing your mind towards.
It'll be so exciting from just sitting chanting my rounds one day and Krishna just manifest.
What's going to happen?
And what would I say? Like, Kastuma! Kastuma! You're never going to believe what happened yesterday.
I don't think you'll be picking up your phone at that time.
Krishna, hold on one second. We'll get right back to
I
you.
got to tell Kastuma.
I got to tell Kastuma this. I would tell you. You'd probably be the first person I tell.
Well, but at the moment, I think you would be in so much, there'd be, you're
wrapped in rapture.
Yeah, you'd be in rapture.
Rapture. You know what I'm talking about?
I do. Not addressing it.
The personality of Godhead appearing on the shoulder of Garuda seemed like a cloud resting on the summit of the mountain known as Meru.
Beautiful sight.
The transcendental body of the personality of Godhead was covered by attractive yellow garments, and his neck was decorated with the jewel from the Kaustubha money, the Kaustubha jewel. The bodily effulgence of the Lord dissipated all the darkness of the universe. What if Vishnu appeared to you, but you wanted Krishna to appear? Would you be like, Vishnu, could you?
Well, the Lord of your heart appears to you.
Okay, there you go.
So, yeah, but so I believe the Lord of the hearts of the Pracetas was Lord Vishnu, and he appeared. Look at, imagine he's on this big bird, right? He's floating on down.
Exciting.
Yeah.
The Lord's face was very beautiful, and his head was decorated with shining helmet and golden ornaments. The helmet was dazzling and very beautifully situated on his head. The Lord had 8 arms, which held a particular weapon. The Lord was surrounded by demigods, great sages, and other associates. These were all engaged in his service. Garuda, the carrier of the Lord, glorified the Lord with Vedic hymns by flapping his wings.
Imagine that.
Wait a second. Let's read that again. Garuda, the carrier of the Lord, glorified the Lord with Vedic hymns. By the flapping of his wings, Vedic hymns resounded. It wasn't just, it was like,
that's right. It's
Garuda
like he had his own sound. Just like our vehicles, you want to put a sound system in it, right?
Well, Mara's electric car has this sound thing where you drive it, and it's like, you can change. It can sound like birds. It's, the electric cars are so quiet and smooth that they program these otherworldly sounds into it. I don't know.
So like you don't hit people or something?
Yeah, so that people hear you coming.
Interesting.
But they're sort of like mystical sounds. You know what I mean? I don't know if Teslas do that, but.
Well, imagine you come out of the water and then you hear this Vedic hymns coming from up in the sky. And then you look up and you see a big, huge bird coming down and its wings are flapping those hymns.
Yeah.
And then it's coming down lower, and you say, "Oh, Lord Vishnu's sitting on top of that bird."
Yeah. Amazing. These were all engaged. Any bird, any big bird I see, I'm like, wow, that bird is exciting. But to speak of Garuda,
Like turkey vulture.
It's a turkey vulture. I'm like, pulled the car over. There's a turkey vulture. I've been seeing hawks a lot lately. Hawks have been crossing my path a lot lately. I think that's auspicious.
All right.
Any Native Americans out there who can give me, is it auspicious to see hawks on a regular basis? These were all engaged in his service, his wings. Oh, no.
Garuda appeared to be an inhabitant of the planet known as Kinaraloka.
Kinaraloka. Around the neck of the personality of Godhead hung a flower garland that reached to his knees. Wow. His 8 stout and elongated arms were decorated with garlands, with that garland, which challenged the beauty of the goddess of fortune.
Wow.
With a merciful glance and a voice like thunder, the Lord addressed the sons of King Prachini Barishat, who were very much surrendered unto him.
Okay, so this is big now, right? Like they've done this meditation for 10,000 years under the water. They're
getting a payoff here.
They come up, and they may even still be underwater. I'm not sure. Like this maybe happen. I think there's a painting of it where it's more like it's underwater, right? But in any case, Lord Vishnu's coming down on the bird, and the beauty is just, like you can't even imagine. Even just his garland is like crazy, insane, beautiful. And now he's going to speak. And what's the first thing that he's going to say? And
come out of the water now.
There's going to be a message here. And I think this message is really important because, we have different ideas. He's going to speak about what pleases him, right? How these Pracetas have pleased him. And people have all different kind of ideas about like what pleases God, right? Like what we should be focusing on. And he's going to deliver a message. The very first thing that he says is going to be very interesting here. And you imagine like, there's all kind of like, through different stories or films or whatever, like there's kind of different conceptions of people trying to please God or please the gods, right?
Yeah.
Sacrifice. I wanted to, animal sacrifice, virgin sacrifice, or, like whatever it might be, and I think even in our own, like, religious / spiritual societies, we have different ideas of what pleases God, and we try to do that, or we try to exemplify that, or we look towards that, or whatever. Well, here comes a message that that's, I don't know, kind of special. It's like we don't always hear this kind of thing, but let's hear what he has to say.
The Supreme Personality of Godhead said, "My dear sons of the King, I'm very much pleased by the friendly relationships among you.
Boom.
All of you are engaged in one occupation, bhakti. That's my only job. It's good to think of bhakti as your occupation. I'm so pleased with your mutual friendship that I wish you all good fortune. Now, you may ask a benediction of me."
So it wasn't. They did, in one sense, they were performing austerities, right? They were sitting. That you're not eating, you're not sleeping, you're meditating underwater. You're doing it for a long time. He didn't say, "I'm very pleased with your austerities," right? He said, "I'm really pleased the way that you guys get along with each other. This is, I'm touched by that. You all come together. You have this friendship among yourself. And I'm so pleased by that. Just ask for me anything you want. I want to give it to you."
They're all family members. When's the last time you were with your family, Kostuba, and you got along all very sweetly for 10,000 years?
Yeah, right.
Speak of Christmas dinner.
Yeah.
Okay, the Lord continued, "Those who remember you every evening of every day will become friendly with their brothers and with all other living entities."
Wow. Okay, so
Those
by
who
bringing your
remember
mind
you.
to them, everyone else will be able to get along.
"Those who will offer me the prayers composed by Lord Shiva, both in the morning and in the evening, will be given benedictions by me. In this way, they can both fulfill their desires and obtain good intelligence. Because you have, with pleasure, accepted within your hearts the orders of your father and have executed those orders very faithfully, your attractive qualities will be celebrated all over the world. You will have a nice son who will be in no way inferior to Lord Brahma. Consequently, he will be very famous all over the universe, and the sons and the grandsons generated by him will fill the three worlds."
Okay. So there's going
It's hard to believe that there's going to be. It's hard to believe that the ancestors. Wait, is the ancestors before or after?
Ancestors are
before.
Okay. What do they call it afterwards?
Descendants.
The descendants of Raghunath. It's hard to even think of that. Like, there's going to be descendants of Raghunath.
There already are. What are you talking about?
Yeah. Yes. I mean, but there's going to be like in 4 generations from now. Interesting, isn't it?
Yeah.
We tend to look back at the
I mean,
past.
not definitely. There may be. There may not be. No.
Oh, that's a good point. The family line could end.
Family line could end. At least your branch of it.
Okay.
But may continue, Raghunath. May it
Thank you.
thrive.
I was like
May
a
it
little
prosper.
sad. The family lineage will end. The branch will become dry and snap off. The sons of King Prachini Barishat, the heavenly society. Wait a second. Oh, sons of King Prachini Barishat, the heavenly society girl. Society girl's a prostitute, right?
I don't think it necessarily means a prostitute. I think a society girl is kind of like an it girl, like kind of like
an it girl.
Yeah, like like
different than a townie girl.
Yeah, she's enjoying life and she's popular and she's like. So I think it's saying that this society girl I think what's trying to be communicated is that she's a heavenly maiden, right? Who enjoys life in the higher planets, and she's going to come down, right? And she's going to connect with this sage, and they're going to have a daughter.
You're right. It is an it girl.
Okay.
An it girl or a party girl, usually mega rich. Some are a bit slutty and a trendsetter.
Yeah, well, I think that's like going a little too far here.
I didn't say that. This is the first thing that came up on.
I'm not saying that you said it, but I'm just saying.
Yeah, that was sometimes slutty. Okay.
They're different. There's that passage in Mahabharata, right, where Arjuna goes to see his father Indra in the heavens.
Oh yeah, right? That's a great story.
And so when he's there, he's approached by Urvasi.
Yeah, right? Very incredibly beautiful woman.
Like we can't imagine just how strikingly beautiful she is, right? It's like stunning,
it's
right?
Otherworldly beautiful. In the heavens, people are more beautiful.
Yeah. And so Urvasi approaches Arjuna, to enjoy, right? Romantically
enjoy, yeah.
And what's Arjuna's response?
Arjuna's a little taken aback. He says, because what happens is when you see someone across the room, you sort of look at somebody and they look at you and you look at them. So she was like, I noticed you looking at me. And he says, yeah, I was looking at you. He goes, yes, I find you very, very attractive, Arjuna. He goes, oh no.
Slow down.
I wasn't looking at you like that.
Right.
I was looking at you because you were married to one of my ancestors,
to Indra,
and I was looking at you with great respect, like, hey, wow, it's you. I can't believe I'm seeing you here. And she goes, well, great, because I want to.
Let's slow it down. I don't believe Urvasi was married to Indra, right? But like, there's just different.
I think Urvasi was related in another way to one of the ancestors, not necessarily Indra.
Okay, the way I remember it is they were speaking about you were with my father.
Right. He says, I'm looking at you as a mother, like an honorable lady who has come.
It would be wrong for me to see you in any other way, right? To see you.
They have this very lovely standard in Vedic culture in this world that you look at any other woman as your mother. Now, some people might say this is horrible. No, it's actually a very respectable way, because the nature of a man's mind is they want to enjoy with everyone. That's a generalization, right, of course, but it's sort of like it's part of the male species. So when instead of seeing everyone as an object of my sense gratification, I want her. Oh, she's hot. She's cute. She's this. She's that. Train the mind not to let lust take over the consciousness, but say, I have a wife, and every other woman I'm going to treat the same way I would treat my mother. It's like a very beautiful way and internally built in to your thought process of controlling lust. And that's why they would sometimes often call people Mataji or mother.
Mm-hmm. Mataji, yeah.
You're right.
Now, what are the three things actually? You're supposed to see other women as your mother, wealth as other people's wealth as like straw on the street or something like that.
Something
right?
What's the other one?
And there's a third one. I forget the third one. But yeah,
there's people. Yes.
In other words, like don't move around the world controlled by lust. Don't move around the world controlled by greed. Right? Go ahead and check your mind in this way. Train your mind. Don't be a slave to your mind. Be free within the mind. Right?
Sure. If people say, "Hey, I'm lusty," guess what? You can train yourself out of that. Yeah. If you say you're greedy, you can train yourself out of that. if we just go on autopilot with these things, lust, greed, anger, rage, they start to snowball. It's not like they'll naturally go away. They'll ebb and flow, but you can actually train your mind and your focus, because lust, greed, anger, these are all meditations.
Yeah.
And so we have an opportunity to meditate on what we choose instead of, right? Looking at pornography is a meditation. That you capture in your mind and you hold in your mind.
Yeah. Right.
Right. Or just thinking about, I'm going to make money here. I'm going to make money here. I'm going to make money here. That's a meditation. And that's why there in our spiritual culture there's like a type of retirement where you set yourself up so you can actually just retire in peace, not have be the forefront of your mind. And also in the busyness of our, family life, etc., you still are keeping a real meditation on God, even though you might be engaged in business, etc. That's what we're trying to do here on Wisdom of the Sages.
Yeah, it's again going back to the whole, we're seeing an example here now of some young men who decided we're going to direct our minds to where we think it'll be most valuable and see where the results go. Right?
Mm-hmm.
And we don't do that. We weren't taught this when we were kids. I didn't have any idea about this kind of thing, like, right? Even the idea of like kind of trying to control my own mind, or the very concept that my mind is controlling me. I had no idea about that.
I would have loved that.
What if we gave that to people real early on, right? Like, understand that your mind is an instrument, and if you're not careful, it'll control you. It's really something that you're meant to control.
We teach the opposite. We teach young boys, masturbation's good for you. No, this is meditations.
Yeah.
Anyway, you're going to become overwhelmed. It's going to be like a pressure cooker. We've got it so backwards. These are the things I needed to hear. I needed a father figure to sit me down. Don't do this. Don't think of this.
And provide a positive alternative as well, right?
Here's a positive alternative.
Yeah.
Baseball, whatever it is, anything.
And then the yoga culture also, it supports it. It doesn't just shame you into not bringing your mind certain places, right? Which is, you're almost hopeless. But it's providing a positive alternative, and it's providing a lifestyle, right? Like in terms of your diet, in terms of your habits, and that makes it so much easier to direct your mind. And if you do that, you know what, Raghunath? I think that a lot of people suffer from different mental loops that they get trapped in, and even they know they're not healthy.
Right.
So you're trapped.
Exactly what it is, a mental loop.
Yeah,
and you just
repeating
can't get out of it.
And we think that it's impossible, but it's kind of like I believe, and I've experienced to some degree in my own life, that it's not as hard as you think. Like, in other words, definitely you need the right engagement. Definitely there are a lot of things that can contribute to support your efforts. But if you stick with it a while, because there's that kind of like withdrawal time, like there's a period where you want to bring your mind, you want to think certain ways, you want to fantasize certain ways, you want to dwell on certain things in your mind in certain ways, and you try a little bit not to go there, and you find your mind keeps wanting to go back there, and you just give up. But you got to keep pushing it, and when you push it, it's not even that far, right? But if you don't push it to a certain extent, then you never realize that it gets much easier, right?
Right.
It gets much easier. Even things like, for instance, and I think we've talked about this before, it's just like saying reading Shastra, right? Like reading these texts. I know it'd be good for me if I did it. I really should be doing it. I waste so much time and I don't do it. Why don't I give it a try? I'll do it. Okay, I'll give it a try. I'm going to try to read every day. And then you pick up the book and you're like, oh, my mind's everywhere else. I'm getting nothing out of this. And then you try 2 days, it's still the same. I give up, But if you try for like 7 days or 10 days or 30 days, then you're going to find that your mind starts to adapt. That's what we were talking about like last week, right? The mind adapts. You can control it. It will start to develop a taste for what you direct it towards. And
so careful what you direct it towards.
So careful what
you just got to be worried about the compass, I think, because you're right. You can develop Shastra, a taste for, okay, every day I'm reading a chapter of the Bhagavad Gita. That's all there is to it. And it's going to start with a decision, right? Like an incision, like a cutting other things out of my life to create some time for this. I'm just going to choose to do it. It could be done with jogging. It could be done with my diet. It could be done with like how much am I going to eat per day? What's my eating window of time? And to the degree that you do it, you get the result of that. It gives you some type of payoff. And from that payoff, we want to do it again. But you have to step into that arena, or else it's going to, and that's how you get the taste of it. So yeah, our real thing is in a very sober mood. And that's why I like things like resolutions or makeover Mondays or New Year's resolutions. Because you can actually, in a very sober way, you can say, this is who I'm going to choose to be this week. This is who I'm going to choose to be. I've started like writing down my goals at night, what I want to accomplish in the morning, what I want to accomplish in the long term, you know what I mean? And it just helps me focus and stay on track, especially like when the show was at 8:00 last week. I could get a lot done if I really wrote down what I was doing the night before. So if I got that, if I, wanted to exercise, chant a little, do my puja in the morning, etc., I'd have to really focus the night before 8:00 or before the show starts, which we start a little earlier. If I wrote those things down, I would accomplish it. If I didn't write it down, I'll just sort of meander through the morning. There'd be wasted time, etc. So as we step into like an explicit program of who I want to become, we're fine tuning the dial, the compass of our choices, and that's how we actually transform ourselves and become different people.
And you know what, Raghunath? I think we tend to be really weak in the day and age that we're living in. We've been weakened by all these things, right? Television and movies and social media, and especially social media now is just like brutal.
Mara will tell you how bad I am.
Yeah, and so what it seems to me, what I'm picking up from people that I hear from and that I engage with, is that it's so important. And you and I had this as monks, but we have to find other ways to do it now. It's so important to have a little sangha, that you're kind of sharing your aspirations with, right? Like,
sure.
We hear that coming through the sage groups too, right? It's like, it's amazing what grows out of these sage groups. It's not just that they meet once a week, but usually they get like a little WhatsApp thread going, and then they start to talk about what they're going through during the week. And sometimes they decide, let's all do this or let's all do that. And you're supporting one another. It becomes so much easier, right? Because the mind is just so strong. It just says, why are you bothering? Don't bother. It's not going to work anyway. You're not going to get into reading. You're not going to read a chapter of the Gita every day. You're going to be done with this after a few days. But when you have that whole group saying, let's all do it and let's talk about it after. Yeah, it gives you so much more strength.
When we go on tour with Shelter in the old days, we'd be like, we have a tour for a month. Let's memorize chapter 7 of the Bhagavad Gita.
Let's do it.
We'd be like, okay. And then there's like this positive peer pressure lifting you higher. On my own, I'd be like, yeah, I'd do it, but I might get lazy on day 7. But on day 7, when the other guys are trying to like really encourage you and you see how far they're getting, it's positive peer pressure. We like that. Here's a question for you. How do I help Mara with her knitting addiction? I think she's a little...
It's become an obsession.
Well, let me ask you a question. In all seriousness, though. Like, how is knitting different than scrolling through Snapchat? Mara, Kostuba, answer me that.
That's easy. I mean,
riddle me this.
If one doesn't seem far more like one has a...
I'm paying a devil's advocate, please.
Okay, well, knitting, you can knit. It's a simple activity. You can engage your mind in so many ways while you knit. But when you get into Snapchat, it's going to just flash all kind of images that are going to be so like they're going to go so much deeper into the subconscious, and they're going to be of all different kind of crazy varieties that are problematic for yoga.
You want to share knitting realizations, Mara, as you knit?
Yeah, well, I mean, I think, you know how your mind is more focused when you're meeting on a treadmill, when you used to do those treadmill meetings?
I do all my meetings on a treadmill now. Do you know that?
And it's not distracting, but because you're moving your body, it's sort of helping focus your mind.
I mean, I'm not sprinting, but I'm just like walking and talking.
But it like keeps you in movement, and it's like keeps your mind very focused. So I feel like knitting it like kind of keeps my hands busy, but my mind stays focused.
Okay, well now here's the question: where does your mind focus, Mara? When you're
that's an interesting question. But I agree.
We're not going to get an answer. I wanted to know.
What do you think?
Well, I was listening to the Bhagavatam.
Oh,
Oh, there you
Oh,
go.
right now, at least. Okay.
Yeah, I'm looking at everybody.
Simple
I'm looking at all the Zoom people listening to Bhagavatam. I'm like, how are they doing that? I cannot sit still. If I was listening to Zoom, like if I wasn't me listening to the Wisdom of the Sages, I would need to be on my treadmill, just walking and listening or something.
I think Karuna is knitting there or something. You knitting, Karuna?
Well,
What you got? Yeah, look at that.
There are
Karuna's
these
knitting.
very a lot of these natural what are they called? Indigenous skills or stuff like that. They're just so sattvic
Crafts.
that they not just crafts, even like even just,
What kind of skills are you talking about?
I'm talking about primitive skills. Flint napping. You know what that is?
Making flint?
Making arrowheads.
Oh, okay.
Whatever. But they're just you're just chipping at flint and chipping at flint. Stuff like that. They're like these indigenous skills that they just whatever they are, they keep the mind very, very peaceful. You know.
Have you done some flint napping?
I have done flint napping.
Okay.
I've done things you couldn't believe.
Things you wouldn't want to believe.
Anyway, Mara, we're running out of time here. Do you have any words of wisdom for us today? Did you see our Christmas tree in the background, Prabhu?
Lovely.
You see that? Where is it? There it is.
Very
It's
festive.
white. It's a white one.
Yeah, I got a white Christmas tree. That's one way to go. Minimalist.
All right. Thank God I am not my mind.
Thank God for that.
All right.
Sometimes external difficulties bring rise to internal strengths.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Yes.
Create the internal freedom of the mind to transcend everything.
Okay.
We're internal freedom of the mind. Secaucus.
Practice not blaming for a peaceful mind.
That's our homework today. We can't blame anyone, anything, any situation for our unhappiness. Puts real responsibility on our plate.
I think you're going to like this one as a mug. Try a mantra mind experiment.
Try a mantra mind experiment.
Treat all women as your mother.
Yeah.
Almost all.
Most of them. Train your mind out of lust, greed, and envy.
Train your mind out of lust, greed, and envy. Like it.
The Vedas provide a positive alternative.
Yeah.
Step into an explicit program for transformation.
Ooh.
You like that? And 10,000 years of meditation pays off.
Did for the Pracetas.
Yeah, it did.
Underwater, Raghunath.
We've really lowered the bar. I meditate for 10 minutes a day. Well, why don't you meditate?
Today transforms people's lives.
Yeah, it does. It does. Just 10 minutes a day. You got to work it up to doing it in the bathtub and then underwater in the bathtub. That's how the Pracetas do it. That's probably how they started. They probably just didn't jump right in. I'm going to do 10,000 years. They're probably like, you know what? Let's work up to this. Let's do a year of meditation in a puddle. See how that feels. Standing in a cold puddle. Let's do 2 years in a brook, in a creek, knee deep. And then they probably work their way up. You know what? 10,000 years. We can do this underwater. I think we got this. Thanks, everybody, for joining us. Every day, Srimad Bhagavatam. Tomorrow's Mystery Day. You don't know what you're getting. You know why? Because I don't know what I'm doing yet. But you're with Raghunath, and Kostuba's going to be at his parents' 60th anniversary in Pittsburgh. And then he's also going to be doing it.
I'm at the Yoga Factory tonight.
And he's at the Yoga Factory with Zeb, creating spiritual memories for all the locals there. Excited for that. And so please join me here live. If you don't join me here live, I'm taking a list. I'm going to know who favors Kostuba above me. And you'll be on my bad guy list. Have a good holiday weekend if I don't see you. And otherwise, we're back at 6 a.m. Monday. But
is it a holiday weekend?
Is it a holiday weekend? It's Kostuba's holiday weekend, Kostuba. The whole world doesn't take a break because you're on holiday, Kostuba G.
All right.
But 8 o'clock this weekend. And remember, Wisdom of the Sages gift box. It's our jelly gift box. Go to happygirlkitchen.com to get your Wisdom of the Sages jelly box. And there's a coupon code, which is wisdom. We keep it simple. Happy Girl Kitchen, Yamuna Jelly, one of our favorite jelly makers in the world, next to, of course, Smucker's, is now got a jelly box going out for give the gift of jelly this year. Prasadam jelly. Blow people's mind like, oh, I thought you were going to give me something else, but you got me jelly and a Bhagavad Gita. Thank you very much.
And a beautiful gift box.
And a beautiful little gift box. Also, I don't know if we're still doing the Divya coupon code, but
yeah.
Divya's Kitchen. A lot of people signed up for that master class. Give the gift of how to cook stuff.
Mastery.
If you think about how Columbus, he came so far just to find herbs, spices. And of course, next would be, how do you combine all these herbs and spices? You don't have to get on a boat any longer. You don't have to cross seas and oceans and, decimate civilizations to find herbs. Now you just get Divya's cooking class, and she tells you how to mix the ingredients to make healthy, happy, delicious food that you can cook and offer to God and your family. And what's that address?
You gotta go ahead, man.
Nobody?
No,
Kostuba?
I say you can go to our Instagram page and go to the link in the bio. You got to go through that link, right? But Mara will put it in the notes of this class, wherever you're listening to it.
All right.